Weeks on from the devastation caused by Cyclone Gabrielle, many families are still trying to pick up the pieces of their lives, rebuild and move back into their homes. Can an alcohol lobbyist be trusted to support government initiatives free from bias as the PM's Chief of Staff? And what about the Kiwi soldier who died in Ukraine? His family is trying to bring him home to Aotearoa. We spoke to the Prime Minister this morning and started by asking what the government was doing to get our people back into their homes as soon as possible following Cyclone Gabrielle.
The number one priority for us is to restore connectivity in terms of the roads. So getting the roads reopened is one of the best things that we can do to support those communities. In the meantime, whilst they're dealing with that significant damage, we have got a lot of work underway to provide temporary accommodation for people where they can't be in their homes. We're working with Marae to support the work that the Marae are doing to support local Māori communities. We're working with other community providers to make sure that we're doing everything we can to support people who have been disrupted and displaced as a result of the cyclone.
Now, a Kiwi soldier has died in the Ukraine. You'll know this. His family is trying to raise money to bring him home. Is this something the government would consider helping with?
First of all, I extend my sympathies to his family. It's an absolutely tragic situation. Clearly, the war in Ukraine is utterly unjust, and Russia's illegal occupation or invasion there should be condemned. It has been condemned by New Zealand and will continue to do that. Russia should withdraw from Ukraine, and that continues to be the New Zealand position. In terms of our position in the conflict, though, we're not sending troops in on the ground. So people, New Zealanders who were there, have obviously made their own decision to go there. Typically, we don't pay for repatriation in those sorts of circumstances. I know there's a lot of community discussion about that. There'll be community support for the family in these circumstances. I just want to, reiterate our sympathy to them for the tragedy that they've experienced.
Okay. Nanaia Mahuta is back from China, the first trip there since 2019. If China supports Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, will we be imposing sanctions against China, despite the fact they're our largest trading partner? Are you happy with the outcome of the visit?
I'm very happy with the outcome of the visit. It was the first opportunity that a senior New Zealand government minister has had to visit China since the global pandemic. So it's been 3 years of very limited ability to meet in person. So a great opportunity for us to meet again in person. And the feedback that I've had from Nanaia Mahuta, we haven't had a full debrief on it yet, but the feedback that I've had is that she thought it was a very positive visit. And I'm sure that high-level dialogue will continue. In terms of the feedback that we've always given China around the war in Ukraine, we remain completely opposed to Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Yep.
We continue to oppose other countries supporting Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and we'll continue to do that. Ultimately, it's a hypothetical question at this point, but China is absolutely aware of our views.
Okay, now, you've appointed a new Chief of Staff. Why did you dump all the alcohol reforms and then appoint the head of the alcohol lobby, Andrew Curtin, as your Chief of Staff?
He wasn't the head of the alcohol lobby. He had some, he did some lobbying work, and yes, he did some lobbying work for some breweries. The reason that we haven't dumped it completely, we've delayed some further work on alcohol reform is because of the potential impact that could have. So there's a lot of alcohol reform still progressing. The bits that we have chosen to take longer on are issues around sponsorship, so alcohol sponsorship, because for our sports clubs and our sports teams, that's a significant source of revenue, and simply cutting that off would have quite a lot of potential implications for community sport and for other community organisations. And we've made the decision to think very carefully and over a longer period of time around things like minimum pricing. I'm not yet convinced about those, to be frank. Never have been, and so we're going to take a bit longer on that.
Okay. There being Ngarewa Packers' private members' bill around anti-seabed mining, will you be supporting this stance, or do you feel there's a place for seabed mining in New Zealand waters?
We haven't made a final decision as a team on that. That's ultimately a decision that gets made by the Labour caucus, so all of Labour's MPs. It is a fairly broad bill. and could have some unintended consequences. So we'll work through that and then I've indicated to Debbie that we'll obviously convey our decision on whether we're supporting it or not to her first, but we've just got to work our way through that, and that's a team decision.
This has just broken overnight, as you'll be aware. The Minister for Prevention of Family and Sexual Violence has been criticised for a comment saying white cis men are the main cause of violence in the world. Is this a comment that you support, and is there a place in your government for people speaking or making statements like this?
Marima's comment was wrong. It's factually incorrect. And she subsequently clarified that what she said was not what she had intended to say, and it was not the message that she was intending to convey. And I've accepted that in light of the circumstances. She'd just been hit by a motorcycle. She was certainly not at her best, and I don't expect people to be at their best 100% of the time. The fact that she subsequently clarified that what she'd said was not what she'd meant, I think that's good enough for me in the circumstances.
Prime Minister of New Zealand, Chris Hipkins, really appreciate you joining us today. Kia hau maru, stay safe.
All right, thank you.